For today's video, I want to talk about the cannabis stocks. Are there opportunities for traders? So we're going to talk about that. Make sure you also like and subscribe to this channel, and make sure that you are supporting the channel by clicking that little notification button so that you can get all the push notifications sent to your phone each and every day. All right, guys, cannabis stocks, they're really taking off right now. CGC, MSOS, you've got MJ, you've got a lot of different names that are just really doing well over the last few days, and you got the volume to back it up. Another popular one is TLRY, Tilray. So is this a time now to be getting into them? Is it really a time to be booking gains? I know one of the things that I've seen with a lot of traders in this area of the market is that they're deep in the red. There's been a lot of losses over the years because if you look at these stocks like MJ or CGC or TLRY, they look like an inverse ETF that's been long over the last 3 or 4 years. It doesn't look very pretty. There's been a lot of reverse splits. There's just been a lot of problems, lawsuits, all that stuff. So let's go ahead and jump right into the stocks here. First up, we have CGC. So on the surface, you look at this and you're like, man, look, it's breaking out. I mean, it is below $1, which I rarely talk about these, but CGC has been one of the hallmark cannabis stocks for a long time. So you got this nice basing pattern. Technically, it looks really nice. You got some strong volume here coming in 2 out of the last 3 days when it's been trading to the upside. But it's really fool's gold. You hear that expression. My mom used to always say to me, you know, not everything that sparkles is gold. That is very true with this particular stock, really the entire industry, because I think there's a lot of traps there. Of course, you had this declining trend line that's lasted most of the year, finally bottomed out. Price broke through the declining trend line, but didn't really make that big leap higher. And then you got what looks like a breakout opportunity unfolding here today. And it doesn't look like it's too late to get into the game. The problem is like, how do you manage risk in something like this? Let's say you put $5,000 down on it. What would you do to manage the risk in this? Because if it goes from 68 cents today down to 53 cents, you've lost a lot of that money. You've lost, you know, probably around 20% of your trade, if not more. Nonetheless, you have a nice basing pattern, but the difficulty is going to be in the risk. So let's look at some other ones here. What about MSOS? This is also a very popular one. If you look at it, look at how much volume has been poured into this one over the last 4 days. And why are these things going up? Because they're changing the classification of cannabis stocks, which gives a lot of people hope that this is going to become more commercialized and more profitable for these companies. As a result, you know, you have this big takeoff here. So a couple of lines that I want you guys to be mindful of here. Yeah, you got a big breakout here. It took place at around $6.31. Now it's trading at $8. A lot of people are going to be chasing that, especially after they see the charts today. They're going to keep piling into it. But what you're going to see is that a lot of people who have been making a lot of money off of it, they're the ones that got in before it ever even broke out. These are your long-term investors. These are people that are probably buying at the beginning of the year. They're seeing this big move. They've been underwater for all of 2023. They're seeing this move and they're like, you know what? I'm going ahead and I'm taking a profit. I've waited too long. I stayed in this trade far longer than I expected. It's time to move on. And that's what they do. So right now, I would not be chasing something after like what you're seeing here. You have another resistance level that was broken here as well, now acting as support. What it could end up doing is trying to pull back to one of these levels. Maybe it's to 663 or maybe even further down to like 617 or 615. Look to see if it wants to bounce at that level. If it does, then I would probably try to get in on that kind of a breakout. Then it'll be well off of its overbought conditions, probably even oversold, and then probably offering up a decent bounce opportunity with a manageable risk side to the trade, or at least better risk management opportunity than what you would have had if you're buying it right now at $8. Yeah, there's no way to really manage the risk there. The other thing I want you to be careful of is when I'm looking at MSOS. Remember I was telling you there's a bad history to these things. I mean, this is from 2021. It looks like an inverse ETF that has a huge element of time decay and going all the way back. Every one of these pops, yeah, there was usually news surrounding this stuff. Better profit opportunity. Congress is warming up to the idea of making it legal. And then it just completely falls apart. It just sucks people in like what you saw here in February of 2022, and then it falls apart even worse than it was before. And we've just seen a history of this. I mean, even back in October of last year, huge rally, and then it completely sold off again. So it's, like I said, it's kind of like fool's gold. I'm not a huge fan of it. Wouldn't recommend people getting into these things by any means. So that's MSOS. What about, let's take Tilray, another popular one. TLRY, from a technical standpoint, it actually is somewhat intriguing. I think it's overbought. Yes, it has a lot of volume in it, but I wouldn't be trying to buy it here just because it's made this run up from 224 up to 3. Talking about almost 50% there. Doesn't make sense to go buying something that's made that kind of a move over the last few days. But you do have an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So let's go ahead and draw that for you guys here. You got your left shoulder right here. You got your head, and then you got your right shoulder. So what do I mean by inverse head and shoulders patterns? It essentially looks like the silhouette of a human being. You got your left shoulder right there. Head, see how it comes up? And right shoulder, except this person's upside down. Inverse head and shoulders pattern is essentially the opposite of a head and shoulders pattern. Head and shoulders patterns tends to take place at the top of the pattern, inverse at the bottom. So it's close to breaking out here. But as you can see, I don't really want to go chasing something that's almost made a 50% move, especially when it's trading under $10. Very unreliable, very sketchy, and past moves have suggested that these are probably going to be another move that just falls by the wayside. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I've watched these cannabis ETFs for probably the better part of 4 or 5 years, and they've never really impressed me. What else do we have here? We have MJ. Boy, this one's taken a real beating over the years too. So MJ, four days in a row, going from 290 to 382 to another about like 30+% move. You see where resistance broke through it. If I'm looking to get into it, I'd rather be buying it off of a support level that it previously was resistance and broke through than I would be trying to do just because maybe it broke above the 200-day moving average. Who cares? There's really not much history with the 200-day moving average, so I don't see it as being that significant of a gesture. So with MJ, it's very much like CGC, very much like Tilray, MSOS. You're bottom fishing here. You're hoping that something happens. Yes, it's really nice volume that's happened over the last 4 days. I just wouldn't trust it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you'd like more swing trading tips and analysis of your favorite stocks. Thank you guys, and God bless.